We can now go live to CounterPoints host Melinda Nucifora, who is live from the NATO summit at The Hague. Melinda, thank you so much for joining us. So we're expecting a meeting between Trump and Zelensky on the sidelines of the official leaders' dinner night. Has that been confirmed, and do we know anything more?
We know that the two leaders are going to meet. Exactly when it's going to happen, that's still open to some speculation at this stage. It's highly watched, this meeting, because let's not forget that President Trump scrapped a planned meeting with President Zelensky on the sidelines of the G7 meeting only a couple of weeks ago when he decided to leave that summit early. So that's put even more emphasis on the meeting between these two leaders here at the sidelines of NATO. It's widely speculated that meeting will happen tonight at the official dinner hosted by the Dutch King, because interestingly, President Zelensky hasn't been invited to the leaders' working session on day 2. He is invited to the formal welcome dinner tonight, but not the official leaders' session. That really breaks with tradition over the past couple of years, because we have seen President Zelensky not only invited as a guest, but also invited to speak, to address the leaders at those working sessions at NATO over the past couple of years. There is some interpretation that perhaps that's a sign of Ukraine's faltering path to membership, something we know the US does not support. And it's also being reported that any reference to Ukraine's path to NATO membership is likely to be left out of the joint leaders' statement this year. Again, another break with tradition that we've seen over the past couple of NATO leaders' summits.
So, Melinda, President Trump posted a message exchange between himself and NATO chief Mark Rutte earlier. It was kind of highly unusual, wouldn't you say? There was a lot of praise in there.
I can tell you, Leanne, it had everyone in the media centre almost gasping when that came out. Everyone was looking around thinking, is this real? Did the US president actually post a private message from the NATO Secretary General? It is highly unusual. What is also has been raising some eyebrows amongst the media, amongst the analysts here, is the language that was used in that message. It was so glowing. The layers of praise were being heaped on thick and fast. We heard Mark Rutte saying things like, "Donald, you have driven us to a really, really important moment for America, Europe, and the world." He went on to say, "You will achieve something no American president in decades got done." He also praised President Trump's what he called decisive action on Iran, saying that was truly extraordinary. So glowing praise to the president, something I'm sure Mark Rutte expected to be kept private, but President Trump has decided to put it right out in the public view. We do know, though, that Mark Rutte is really well known for being a slick diplomat. If we cast our minds back to 2018, during that infamous NATO summit in Brussels, where it seemed like President Trump, during his first term, was almost going to derail the whole thing, when he said US could go it alone if NATO doesn't stump up on some extra funding. And it was Mark Rutte, then the leader of the Netherlands, who started shuttling between President Trump, between the Chancellor of Germany at the time, Angela Merkel, to try and smooth things over. In European circles, he's known as a bit of a Trump whisperer. So he obviously is trying to keep the president on side, because his joining of the summit tonight at the welcome dinner and at that working session tomorrow does have some European leaders on edge.
And Melinda, it's absolutely fascinating that we got that insight into the workings that happened behind the scenes on text message between Donald Trump and Rutte. So after all that excitement today, the scheduled events for day 1 of the summit are pretty much wrapping up. Do you think it's been a really successful start?
It's been quite an unusually slow start to the NATO summit, I would say. Again, a highly unusual NATO summit. This one here in The Hague is really going to go down as the summit that has broken with so many traditions. Usually, we see leaders sitting down for working groups across the various agenda topics that NATO spans over 2 days. And yet that's not happening this time around. Day one has been a very scaled back schedule. It's been only at ministerial level. It's been mainly dominated by ministerial sort of forums and talk fests where they're getting various ministers and various academics together to discuss some of these NATO issues. It's not leader-level working sessions. So that's been really unusual. Again, there has been some speculation, some reporting around the sidelines that schedule has been orchestrated, especially by the Secretary-General Mark Rutte, to target President Trump himself, to appease the US President, because he is notorious for having a short attention span at multinational gatherings like this. He left the G7 early, and that had everyone worried that maybe he might leave the NATO summit early too. So day one's been really scaled back. We have, though, had a lot of emphasis on Israel-Iran. It's kind of overshadowed Ukraine on day one. So we did see the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen trying to refocus the agenda, saying things like in her statement to the media that the future of Europe is written on the front lines of Ukraine. So an unusual start, a slow start, but definitely not a boring day. It's been quite interesting.
CounterPoints host Melinda Nucifora, thank you so much and all the best at the NATO summit.